Welcome, Dr. Bev.
I am so happy to be here.
I know, I'm excited.
Marathi.
Yeah, man.
Nanwena,
Yes, like I think this is way overdue.
we come from so far.
There
I'm
is so much to
happy.
talk about. I'm like even like shaking a bit because I don't know where to start. You know, that there's a lot. There's pride. You know, we are in October, Joburg Pride Month. There's so much to talk about around Joburg Pride. There's issues of queerness today.
Yeah.
You know, access, people accessing the things that they're supposed to be accessing. And then there's the documentary. Is it a documentary or a movie that you just put out?
The Lesbians Free Everyone.
Lesbians
Yeah,
Free
man, it's a
Everyone.
doc.
It is
One of my favorite docies in a while.
exactly.
Yeah.
It deserves also like its own segment, and we get to talk about that. So maybe let's just jump in because I have been knowing you for many years. I knew you as I was a student activist. If you remember, at VETS, we had a little organization back then in Kateko.
Was it our first meeting? Was in your apartment.
Yes,
on
the
the
first,
10th floor.
yes,
Center.
go Braamfontein Center. I think that's where we met. So we were trying to unite black lesbians,
Yes.
at that time. And I think there is like still gap for that. But I know now there's few, there's other organizations that are really doing the work, So, but we've
exactly.
always been passionate about freeing our
Yes.
people, for lack of a better word. Tell me about pride. Maybe take me back to the first pride, Dr. Bev.
Hey man, listen. Like a little bit because I think since Pride changed tack and went short left, it's always been very painful for me the month of October. People going happy Pride, and me I'm thinking, hey, it's lost the meaning, man. And because it lost the meaning, I realized that I can't participate anymore with something I don't. It's not the same values that we started with. So that very first Pride was probably the most exciting, but also the most scary day of my entire life, 1990. So it's 33 years.
Yes.
Coming by Saturday. And so, I think, I don't know if you have moments that come to you as defining moments.
Okay.
That day was a defining moment for me. That, I knew my purpose. I knew there was clarity. I am here for a reason and a purpose. And that was that first Pride March. And not just the speech. My speech was like...
So at the very first Pride March, you gave a speech.
I gave a speech, and Leona, it was, listen, I think me and you always saw the gap, access.
Yes.
When I remember asking Simon, okay, so we've got all these speakers we'd planned. I was part of when I say I was part of the planning, remember I was 17 years old.
Yes.
So every meeting, I'm listening to everybody, and we're painting banners. We are preparing.
Joburg has
never seen anything like this before. So we are scared. We are talking police presence. Others are saying it's still apartheid. The police are still apartheid police. Are they here to protect us? How do we know they will protect us if we get attacked?
And we're not just black. We're not just queer then. We are also black.
We are also black.
Yes.
So all those questions were coming up about what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. Because also you have to advertise Akerora Pride is happening. And so we don't know who are we attracting. Are we also attracting the homophobes? Are they going to come with weapons? We didn't know what to expect. So it was quite brave. So the committee was saying, yeah, all right. And then Kitsedi speaker, Sikia lineup. I didn't even see that lineup before the day.
Yes.
But on the day itself, I remember turning and saying, Simon, who else is going to speak? Because I realize now, you've got all the white men that are going to speak, nothing wrong.
Yeah.
We've got Donnay Randall as the only lesbian, but she's going to read the manifesto.
Yeah.
Is there somebody else who is assigned female who is going to speak? And Simon said, no.
Sure.
And I looked around and I'm like, there were at least 2, 3, 4 other black lesbians in the space. You don't see them much. And Nagongo, we can't out people. If they don't want to come out and say, I was at First Pride, I'm not going to say, mang mang le mang mang le mang mang. Do you know what I mean? I think that's also the difficulty at erasure, is that it seems like I'm the only one that was there. I'm the only one, papa.
Yeah, you're the only one who's saying, hi guys, you're not going to erase me. I was there.
Yeah. Anyway, so when he said, no, if there's nobody else, do you want to do it? I said, yeah. But I was also clear. If I or nobody else who looks like me stands up, then we continue to not exist.
Yeah. Yeah, representation is key.
Representation is everything. If you
Yeah.
don't think that you exist, you live your life in the shadows.
Yes.
And I've never been one to live my life in the shadows anyway.
Yeah.
So no, it was an incredible day of like both a mixture of fear but also of excitement. And I think all of us knew one thing: the 80 people that started Go Braamfontein Hall that morning.
Yes.
We were all very clear about the fact that we deserve our space in the sun.
Yes. Sure, 80 people.
There were 80 people.
So in the first march, only 80 people marched.
Only 80 people arrived in that hall. 80 people walked out to start the march.
Sure.
I know when you see the visuals, it looks like there were more,
Yes.
but it was 80 people that walked out of Braamfontein Center. Other people started joining, especially Ko Hillbrow.
Okay, all right.
We were going from Braamfontein Center all the way around into Pretoria Street in Hillbrow.
Yeah.
By the time we returned into Hillbrow, I think more and more people, you know, the slogan out of the closet into the street.
Yes.
We turned it into out of the bars into the street, because Pretoria Street was also known very
Yes,
much.
for all,
there were like
all
a
the
few gay
venues,
bars
yes. Yeah.
in the street.
And then now people
And
started
so
coming
they
out.
started coming out because they were also, people were afraid.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
so by the time
I even get gooses now,
right?
like
By the
listening
time
to
we
this,
got
yeah.
like, there's a moment where this one person starts screaming, and it's like the rain just went
Sure,
as we
man.
started the march, right?
Yeah.
Right outside Braamfontein Center, as we move, and he starts jumping and screaming.
Sure.
Yeah, that's my goosebump moment.
Yeah.
And then I start jumping and screaming. Simon is screaming.
Yeah.
We were all screaming.
Because like this, like it's surreal, right? It's like this is happening, we put this together, and it's happening right here in our
It was
country.
the most powerful moment of my life.
Sure.
Because like, Bona, when you're queer, you know, we are made to hide. We're made to feel shame. We're made to feel like we shouldn't exist. You're told all the time that God hates you.
Yeah.
You're told all the time that according to tradition, you should be killed. You should not exist. You must change who you are. That moment for me was defining, because for the first time we were saying, fuck all of that.
Yeah. We exist.
We exist, we are here, and we deserve to live and have joy and thrive and flourish. That's what that moment said to me. And I think, you know what, I've lived my life searching for that moment.
Sure.
Like it was the high of the highs.
Yeah.
And once in a while, iatla.
Yeah. But
that one,
like, that was the pinnacle.
that one was a pinnacle. I felt it again in the second and the third march and the fourth. You know, like in the few others, I felt it again.
Yes.
But that was the dopamine high for me.
Sure. And was this before Beijing or after Beijing?
This was 1990. This is 1990.
This is 1990.
So Beijing was 95.
Okay, so Beijing is 5 years later.
5 years later. Was the
Okay,
Beijing
that's where you got
conference.
another high.
That's where I got another high, but
Yeah.
it was a very opposite high, because remember, I went to Beijing without my organization's approval.
Oh.
So GLOW did not approve of me going to Beijing, because the question was, and it was a very also defining, but
Yeah.
opposite, not
Okay.
in a joyful way, was when the men in the organization were asking, what are you doing at a women's conference?
They're asking you?
Yeah. How do gay issues enter into a women's conference?
Sure.
So then education,
Yeah.
you know that whole thing. First of all, we were all gay people, like before we even kind of made sure the word lesbian enters the program. So
Yes.
by the time we said the gay and lesbian organization, that's why terms and words are so
that's why it's
important.
GLOW, right? Gay and
lesbian
lesbian
organization of the Witwatersrand.
Yes, but then it excludes then your trans.
It excluded
your
everybody, but
intersex.
we didn't have a language. And
Yeah.
bi was not something that was also, bi was always there, but
Yeah.
not really seen as part of the community, you know?
Okay, yeah.
So Hauri GLOW and the lesbian part, we had to kind of almost fight for it, you
Yeah,
know, because
okay.
it's like gay men, bakale, would always assume, or when we say gay issues, we mean everybody.
We mean everyone, yeah.
I also think that there's something quite patriarchal
About it, yes.
You know what I mean?
Because then we start talking of the politics within the
community, and nobody's kind of caring for the politics of the community.
Yeah.
So the lesbian forum, you know, it was also part of like saying we need our own kind of
voice.
voice.
Yeah.
Like we would have an agenda, and everything would be, general. I'm sure you've experienced this. Go the SRC,
Yes.
go the ANC as like
Yes.
youth rates these meetings. Be go to women's issues, get number 9 on the agenda.
Yeah,
Be
yeah.
go to AOB after that.
Yeah. Any other
like any
business.
other business. So women's issues and then AOB.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so
like,
it's
that was
just a thing
constant.
that we have to do to
So
tick
now I'm
certain
in a queer
boxes.
organization, the first of its kind, and Leona in Ali lesbian issues, number 9
at
on the
number 9
agenda.
before
And
AOB.
having lived most of at 17, 18 years old, I've lived my life vele.
Yeah.
Because I'm at these small SRC meetings where women's issues go number 9 on the agenda.
And now you come
that
to this
pissed me
space
off,
that's supposed to be safe.
Right?
And
then we are still number 9 on the agenda.
so now who funds your travel to Fiji?
So the first international conference was the ILGA conference, 94.
Okay.
Simon.
Okay.
So we went to New York, and in New York I met the people who were like part of the organizers of the Lesbian Visibility Go Beijing.
Okay.
So Eagle-Herc International Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission was with other organizations making sure that there's going to be lesbian visibility at this women's conference.
Okay.
Now these are people like they've been tracking and going to all these different women's international United Nations kind of conferences around the world.
Yes.
So they knew, okay, this is how this is going to work, and we need to make sure the lesbian issues are prominent in the platform for action for Beijing.
Okay.
So I met these people. I met Kakendo Murungi, who was a Kenyan activist, one of the first lesbians to come out of Kenya at the time. She's like one of the great ancestors that unsung also. She eventually had to change her name to Merisi Gaji because her family was being attacked in Kenya because she was being famous for New York. And, and Murungi, that name apparently was quite prominent at the time.
Okay.
Anyway, so she and I became really close friends.
Yeah.
Through her, we started communicating, and she was asking who out of South Africa is being sent to come to the Beijing conference.
And you're like, no.
I was like, I don't know anybody.
Because they say it's women's issues.
All the women's organizations are sending, like ANC Women's League. I was part of Women's Health Forum and conferences, the ANC Women's League, because also we're educating.
Yeah.
But there was nobody that I knew that was coming from any gay organization, and the only gay organization that really existed was GLOW.
Okay.
And I'm co-chair of GLOW.
Yeah.
So asking my GLOW people,
can I go there?
I've been given an opportunity to go to the conference, and the question was why?
Why? Sure.
That has nothing to do with gay issues.
Wow. And now...
Well, when had that reaction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now...
That was my reaction. So they funded... The international community funded my ticket to go to Beijing.
And then you went and you represented.
Against the wishes of my organization, GLOW, I got there and gap up.
Yeah.
I ended up papping all the way
and becoming visible. Yes. And you find yourself...
all the way to the speech.
How does it feel to go onto that podium, and also you have been asked by the rest of the women to say, we believe in you.
Yeah.
You go up there and speak, and you're speaking for women of the world, right? How does that feel?
It was an incredible moment, I think. Another defining moment.
Yeah.
To stand up on that podium knowing, I was speaking on behalf of so many organizations from around the world, you know. And we'd prepared my speech the night before. And Nali, I think 5 other activists, one from Mexico, one from Peru, one from Thailand, and 1 or 2 Americans. There were a few of us in the space who prepared that speech. And they were like, okay, so we're going to personalize it, but we're going to make sure the politics are solid, you know?
Yeah.
And then they did a protest action before I spoke, and it was like a big commotion. Some got arrested in the process. And then, I got up there, and I remember trying to find the South African desk, go to the United Nations.
Yes, like those flags and stuff.
And also one of the things that were really, really incredible for me was realizing at the time, this is not a women's conference. It's a conference on women.
Yeah.
Which meant, all these heads of states were mostly men.
Are talking about women's issues.
There were a lot of men in the space.
Yeah.
who were there to talk on women's issues. What rights must women be given?
Yes. And I'm sure they're thinking, these girls must tone it down. These women must tone
And
it
they
down.
told us in no uncertain terms, so do not create waves. The fact that you are lesbians and you are out means you must already be grateful.
Yes, that we are allowing you.
Hore, you are here.
Yeah.
You know, there was quite a lot of violence on the hallways of that United Nations building of Beijing.
Sure.
God, we all wore badges stating lesbian rights or human rights.
Yeah.
I shame. Those blue badges were targeted pretty much on a daily basis. And now I was accosted to go toilet in the bathroom where these women were like, what the hell is this?
Are these other women now?
These are other women, of course, you know, saying, what the hell is this? What is this lesbian thing? What is this? This is against nature, this is against God, and you are here antagonizing these people here by distracting from the issues.
Important issues.
There are more important issues than your lesbian issues. In fact, there was one commissioner who said that it's women and their exotic desires. You are trying to politicize women and their... You cannot be politicizing these exotic desires.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Sure. This is okay. So Beijing is 95.
Beijing is 95.
And then the initial Pride is 1990. So we are how many years? My maths is failing me. But how many years are we later?
We are now there. Actually 4.5, because Beijing was September and then October was Pride.
And but I'm just saying now, like how many years?
Since Pride, so it's 28.
28 since Beijing. And
yeah, because 25 years of Beijing was 2020 again.
Sure. And I mean, like, obviously, when we talk women's rights, we're talking access, right? When we're talking Pride, initial Pride, we're talking access.
Yeah.
How does access look like today for women, number one, black women, number two, and queer people in general? How does access look like? Are we saying that we have won the war now?
There's a part of me that thinks that while things shift and get better, things are getting worse.
Okay.
Somebody googled a rhetoric that is quite popular. You are protected by the Constitution. What more do you want?
Sure. Yeah.
Like South Africa's gays are free. What more do you want? What that means is everybody else has stopped trying, has stopped considering, has stopped being inclusive because we are supposedly free.
Because the Constitution says we are free.
Constitution says black people are free. Are we? Constitution says women are free.
Yeah.
Are we? Constitution says queers are free. Disabled people are free.
Yeah.
Are we?
That's not the experience on the ground.
No, that's not the experience, because people need to make that experience be experiential. People need to implement. There's work that needs to be done physically to make that happen. Yeah. And so if nobody's making that happen, then it's not going to happen.
Sure.
You know, it's a out of the blue.
Yeah.
Because there's this assumption that, now we are free and now we must just live our lives. And I know personally, it got to a point, I think, towards the late 90s, where I started asking myself, Bev, what is your career? You know, I left all my art, all my acting. That's what I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
With mom as a musician, I knew I'm going to be a musician. With mom getting into acting, TV became my world. But by the late 90s, I really was starting to struggle with the idea, I diverted my attention towards queer activism to such a degree that I lost my own direction in terms of what else I'm doing besides lesbianing for a living.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what somebody said, I lesbian for a living. Like, wow, dude. What does that mean?
Is it paying this
does it pay the
lesbianing?
bills? You know, no, I don't work for any organization that pays me on a monthly basis, which means my grandma's pension money to go to meetings. You know, I don't lesbian for a living. So what am I doing? And I think a lot of us, and I don't just mean as queer folk, I mean as South Africans, once like the Constitution was finalized, now we are inside this newfound freedom, ya Mandela. Now everybody is like self-focusing. And that's what we all started doing. But that vacuum that was left in terms of how do you continue to strengthen the systems that exist?
Yeah.
We didn't.
We didn't think of that.
We didn't think of that. And that was quite glaring. There was a time where there was absolutely nothing happening for queer folks. You know that. And you know it because by the time, things like Open Closet began, it was filling a space that was so desperately and urgently needed.
Yeah. People were not safe at events.
People were not safe at
parties.
events.
Yeah.
We were going to gay parties where we were being attacked. It didn't matter. We were going to clubs where we were being attacked. And so you were one of the people who said, I see the need.
Yeah.
In the same way as Quad Care, where you're like, okay, we need to be creating these spaces. And for me, seeing it was quite painful because Linda, I shrunk myself. I stepped back. And there were a lot of personal reasons. There were a lot of other reasons. There was a lot of jealousy in this space. There was a lot of people who were asking me, who asked you to represent me?
Sure.
There were a lot of painful things that happened within the movement that made me shrink myself.
Okay.
And so when I did eventually, I was like, okay, I think somebody else said, yeah, but why aren't you passing the baton? And my question was, who has asked me?
Who has asked you to pass that baton? And who are you
Until
passing
you
it?
ask me to your conference or to your meeting and say, okay, this is what happened, then we want to do this. How can we do it differently? I love those conversations because I like being innovative.
Yeah.
Sapula Linkateko, we were very innovative.
Yeah,
We were trying to do things differently.
We were, we were young.
We were young. We didn't have the words for it. I know for sure that I had a vision, but I didn't have the language. I didn't have the infrastructure. I didn't have the know-how of it.
We didn't even have the
didn't
support.
know. We didn't have support.
Yeah, we're just pulling each other and
the
saying...
gay men in the space were on some... why are you... By saying we are being exclusionary.
Yes, like why is there even
why
a
are you
need
separating yourself from the rest of us? No, we were attacked quite a bit.
Sure.
For us to even exist as Nkateko. That's a story that needs to be told. Let's make that film.
We should, We should tell the Nkateko story and bring back like all the
Nkateko
guys
story.
that we were together back then.
Absolutely. We should tell that story.
Yeah. So now tell me about the story. Speaking of stories, there is Lesbians Free
Everyone.
Yes.
Which Leona started off as we were supposed to get together to celebrate 25 years of Beijing. And in February, tickets are being kind of bought. We are flying off to New York, February 2020.
Ooh, COVID.
February 2020, the planning is happening. We are all going to get together. The first of the celebrations of 25 years of Beijing is happening in New York at the United Nations building. And like the lesbian organizations and the queer organizations from around the world are saying, let's actually go and celebrate this. So those of you who can come to New York, come to New York, you know? And so an organization says, we'll pay for your ticket, Bev. But while you're there, bring a camera and see if you can capture like just some of the moments with some of those people who were there 25 years ago. And then beginning of March, the world says,
shut down. Level 5.
Boom, the whole world. I get an email airing, okay, so now we actually have the funds. What do we do with them? I said, we make a film.
Yeah.
It was one of those, and I think it was Phil, Lady Phil, of UK Black Pride and Kaleidoscope in the UK, who said, do you think you can make a film with all these people? I was like, well, if you think about it, if everybody is sitting in front of their computers, all I need is 2 hours of their day.
Yeah, okay.
In front of their own computer, in their own home, and I think I can actually talk to more people this way than if it was in person.
And it was going to be maybe more costly to be traveling everywhere.
I would have had to travel to all corners of the world.
Yeah.
Including China, where I don't even know if they would have let me come and do this film. Gara, you know that they're still bad over there.
Sure.
It's still quite rough. This film won't play openly in China.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because queer folks still they're not out.
And when we talk of homophobia and states that are really like brutal to their people, we focus on Africa.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the rest of the East and the West.
The Eastern Bloc is bad when it comes to queer issues. People are still being attacked in the streets. People are attacked in their homes. China's repression is quite rough.
Sure. Okay.
You know, like there's a Chinese person that I met that I was screening my film in Stockholm like a couple of weeks ago. I was in Stockholm screening the same film. And there's a few Chinese folk who are saying, you know, you wouldn't be able to play this at home. We can't. I'm so happy to have seen this film, to know that even then we were part of something.
Sure.
And the Chinese people who are in the film can't live in China out. There's one person in the film who has not been home in 25 years.
Imagine.
Was banned. Literally, they revoked his citizenship.
Because we are queer.
Because he was out and gay and organized a gay party for the lesbians at the Beijing conference. He can't go home.
Sure. Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, back to what we were talking about.
Yes.
You know.
So, where were we? We were talking
access,
about. Oh, we're talking about now.
You're putting the film together.
Yes.
And yeah, so I sat in my lounge and made sure I have Wi-Fi. Yeah, I had a few days. In that few days, we were like cameras, hard drives, my edit team, my camera team, my sound team. Are we all set? Because when the shutdown happens, we were given a few days before shutdown.
Yeah, and so it means that even the whole team can't be in one.
No. Everybody was online. We all plugged in. I had Bernie on sound, listening to every interview, making sure our sound was clean. I had Johnny watching video to make sure we are as good a quality as possible. I had those two people. I had my production coordinator making sure time zones, my interviews around the world, time zones are going to make sense, to talk to somebody in Mexico on one day and still be able to talk to somebody in the Philippines on the same day at like 2:00 in the morning. You know, you can even see time difference on the video when I'm talking to different people.
Sure.
Because we had to deal with different time zones to accommodate everyone. And we just filmed, downloaded, made sure everything worked, filmed, and then sat in the edit. And Leona, my editor, could give him the hard drives by meeting go ShopRite.
Yes, pretending
you're going shopping.
Yeah,
you know, because now that's the only time we are allowed out.
And then
so
we
would meet.
Like you're like a drug dealer, yeah.
Like mask, double masks over here. Like, okay, on this drive, this you'll find it. Okay, sharp.
Jesus.
And put it together. And it was a phenomenal time. So I get lockdown.
Yeah.
You know how people were like, I slept, I learned to cook, I did my DIY,
Yes.
I rested, I was worried, but I rested. I lost my job. No, I was working.
You were working.
I was working from the comfort of my home. I was making a film. It was beautiful.
Sure. And the product is out. Where do people catch it? Because
I don't have an official distributor.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have an official distributor for the film. And I mean, I like we're talking to a few distributors. It's about 3 years old. That makes it a little hard because once it's aired, different people, don't want to play it.
Yeah.
Like there's whole systems about when you screen films. But it's still making its rounds, and it's a great film. So if anybody wants to catch it or screen it, let's chat. I do give people the link if you want to see it.
Okay.
But I'm talking to several different distributors.
Because I think it's like, I mean, like I did even say to you before, like the title itself, it's tongue-in-cheek, but it's so necessary.
Yeah.
Lesbians free everyone, because it really talks about the impact that, like, the Beijing has had, but also the work that the lesbians are doing, in their corners across the world to free everyone. We're not just freeing just ourselves.
No.
We are talking about, like, you were there in Beijing talking about the rights of women everywhere.
It's about autonomy. If we cannot be autonomous, are we free?
Sure. Because, like, ultimately, what does this freedom mean? If you tell us we have it on paper, but our experiences are then we are not
free.
Sure.
So it's a controversial title.
Yeah.
I loved it. At first we thought because it came from a banner from a march we did in China, in a small village in China, in Beijing. And the banner looked like it said lesbians free everywhere.
Okay.
Which is also quite wonderful if you think about it. I was
Yeah.
like, lesbians free everywhere. Shall we call it that? And then somebody else like gave us a picture that was a lot clearer. The banner says, lesbians free everyone.
Yeah.
And we all agreed. All of us agreed
Yeah.
as a political statement.
I want that person
Yeah.
who will wanna come and say no, that's
It's not true.
because like
Yeah,
you can't argue with that.
Can't.
You know, you look at the like I
Come.
say, you look at the work that different lesbians are doing across
Around the world.
and it's
And
not just about them.
No, because we are very community oriented. We are very look. I think Jay, the minute you understand your position in society, for me, understanding all these hierarchies, understanding where you stand. You know, people talk about the policies of hierarchy. Is I know for sure that my freedom will mean freedom not just for me.
Yes.
Because if you're saying freedom is just for me, then you're saying I'm not living in the same community that has no services.
Water.
That is exactly
Healthcare.
that has no jobs.
Yeah.
You're saying I'm not part of a community of humans, of other people around me.
Yeah.
My freedom is the freedom of everybody around me.
Sure. My freedom is everyone's freedom.
Exactly.
Sure, that is so powerful because I think one activist has said when we fight for LGBTI rights, we're not asking for special rights out of the we're saying, you know, the same rights that you're promising everyone.
Everybody else.
You know, people, even LGBTI people do need to be accessing, like, you know, and enjoying those rights.
Can I tell you what I fight? And it was a fight that happened even last week, and it's a constant fight. I get called to do a lot of talks. I'm on different panels. I'm kind of constantly being asked to come in, you know. And sometimes I know I'm ticking a box. I'm a quota.
Yeah.
Because then when you do your annual report, you can say, oh yeah, no, how many disabled people did you feature in the year in your panels? Tick. You know, how many queer folk? Tick. I know sometimes sort of that's all I am.
Yeah.
Right? And when I know that's exactly what I am, is when I'm invited to a space. My agent gives you my entire CV, my biog. We've tailored my biog.
Yes.
You can have like a 300 character biog, or you can have like a 600 word biog.
Yeah.
I am thick.
Yeah.
I'm rich in my CV.
Yeah.
You know? And all you're going to pick
It's the queen.
is LGBTI activist.
Eish.
That's all you're going to pick.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, for me, the impact of that. You have literally reduced my contribution to society. You have literally said this person only fights for the right to be queer, which then is about that whole narrative, your special rights.
Exactly.
When somebody says, oh, gay people only fight for gay rights, that comes from seeing me, entitling me only as LGBTI activist. How do I pay my bills?
By
As a
lesbian.
LGBT, by lesbianing.
Yeah.
You're literally reduced me to that,
Yeah.
to how and who I have relations with.
Yeah.
That's all you've done. You've removed my agency. You've removed the fact that I'm a taxpayer in society. You've reduced I entertain you on your screens. You've reduced everything that I do. You're a doctor. If they had to remove everything and say LGBTI activist, which is what you are.
Yeah. No, I have had
your
that.
contribution in society has just been removed.
No, I have had that, and I've seen that now a lot more talks that I get invited to, they have to do with the LGBTI like segment of what I do.
Also, we are just a subject.
Yeah.
And if you are a subject, it's easy to dehumanize. Because all I am. Are we talking about climate change?
Yeah. Okay.
It's a subject.
Okay. Let's get an LGBTI.
Let's get an expert on climate change. Yeah. We also talk about climate change because climate change is affecting all of us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a big, big, big fight because you have people pretending to see us when they are in fact perpetuating our dehumanization.
Sure.
By just simply titling me as that. When our sexual orientation, both me and you, a tiny little part of who we are.
Of the work that we do, yeah. Sure. Bev, I think we could talk forever.
Nah, no.
Yeah.
Sure.
We could talk forever, but thank you so much. Thank you
you.
for coming through. Thank you for being open, vulnerability, sharing everything that you have gone through and continue to go through. But like I say, ultimately, yes, we are celebrating Pride Month, but Pride is about access.
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
our people accessing the things that
Yeah.
they're supposed to be accessing, but
Yeah.
also touching on the documentary.
Yeah.
That is also about
About
access.
access and making sure that people have access. I look, my films are online. They are accessible. You
Yes.
search for them, you'll find them.
Yeah.
If it's not, if you're struggling, WhatsApp
Yes.
me,
Or
email,
like inbox
inbox
you're
me,
so
say where do
accessible.
yeah, I
You are-
am very accessible.
You are so
actually.
accessible. People can reach you if they really want to. Even the people that want to erase
There's
you,
like
can reach.
they find me.
They
I'm
find you.
easily foundable.
Yes,
I'm Googleable.
you are
All of
Googleable.
that.
Yes.
But when people are going to Pride, yeah, they must enjoy.
Yeah.
I know somebody was saying on social media that this will be their first Pride. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. No,
Enjoy.
because there's been so much controversy and everything around Pride.
Enjoy.
Like I said,
Enjoy.
and I said to you before even we started shooting this, to say this feels different, and that's why I'm also like part of this, because I really want to
Yeah.
start feeling like are we moving in the right direction?
Direction,
Are we pulling in all the people
Yeah.
that we need to be pulling in, to make sure that this is properly celebrated?
Listen, for me, I cannot be a part of it.
Yeah.
There's just too much hurt, I think.
Yeah.
And Rahola, as a person, you grow and you move and you forgive. I just want everybody to have a really good time and safe time and be affirmed.
Yes.
We deserve our space in the sun. We are preordained to be here.
Yeah.
We are not a mistake.
No.
I want people to go out and enjoy and have that moment of jumping and screaming and that affirmation.
Yeah.
That's what I wish for all my queer folk.
All right. So please do remember to jump and scream.
And scream and enjoy.
And enjoy.
And know that you deserve to be here.
Yes, you deserve your place in the sun.
The sun, you deserve joy, queer joy. I'm all about joy now. I come from a place of joy and not from a place of hurt and anger. That's why I'm like, listen, let's flourish.
Yeah.
It's revolutionary for us to flourish.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Bev.
Doc. And thanks for the work that you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being my doctor.
Yeah,
my personal doctor. I consider you my personal doctor.
Thank you
my family's doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Hey.